Okay, are we ready?
We're ready.
I show 4:15. Do I have a motion to open the, or call to order and a roll call?
I motion to call to order and roll call.
I'll second.
Conducting a roll call, Charles Davis, present.
Ralph Taylor, present.
Mary Mack, present.
Tony Majors, present.
Sister Paula Rose, present.
Brian Keeley, present.
Is this all of the board members?
That's all
of-
we're expecting tonight.
Okay, I show all the board members present for a total of 6.
Mike
Go ahead.
Seifert
He
is absent.
emailed me, he said he's out of town for work.
Understand. So I deem the meeting open, and I'm going to put my glasses on. So the second thing on the agenda is to vote to approve or disapprove the 10 February meeting minutes.
Move to approve it.
I second it.
So I have a motion and a second to approve or disapprove the minutes for the February 10th meeting. All in favor, say aye with their name.
I, Tony Majors.
I, Mary Mack.
I, Ralph Taylor, approve.
I, Charles Davis, approve.
I, Sister Paula Rose, approve.
I, Brian Keeley, approve.
Motion carries 6-0. The motion to approve the meeting minutes of the 10th of February carries. And moving on to the agencies, number 3 on the docket there. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So tonight we'll be hearing from our agencies who have applied as part of the subrecipient program of our CDBG grant. We do have each one that has provided an application listed here. As you guys are aware, we did receive a last-minute application from CASA, so we have them here tonight as well. They'll explain a little bit about why that happened. And then I'd also like to take a second to introduce you to our new Community Development Coordinator. This is Brad. He has been with the Community Development Department for about a year now, however in a different role. And through that role, he was exposed to the Community Development Block Grant Program a little bit, worked with Julie on some things, but he's getting up to speed now, so he's officially been in his role for 8 days and counting, hopefully
Nice.
many, many more. So welcome to Brad. And then we can just move on to our agency presentations. Do we have anybody here from Catholic Charities today? All right, you guys, please come to the mic.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Jackie Mason, and I work at the Leavenworth Catholic Charities as the manager. First off, I want to thank you all for your support in previous years because it's exceedingly important to us. Our request this year is for $10,500. Catholic Charities provides a number of programs. I'm just going to tell you about a little bit about them. We have the Kansas Loan Pool, a payday title loan refinance program. I've also got Family Financial Transformation class, teaching better financial budgeting skills. We have a workforce person in our office to help people look for employment. Our new program that we just added this year is Happy Bottoms. Okay, so we have Happy Bottoms in Leavenworth at this time. We're signing up people for that. It's diapers from birth to 4 years. We've also added our PMI, our Pregnancy Maintenance Initiative program to support pregnant women. Okay, and then for our senior citizen population, we have the Commodity Supplemental Food Program. We are still doing home deliveries to some of those individuals that are homebound seniors. Our direct services, we have our direct financial assistance. We utilize ESG, EFSP, our COC, and then our agency funds for that. What goes along with that, we've got case management, which involves stability and strengthening, and budgeting. We provide clothing in our location for people, household items. People come to us for help with their food stamps, SNAP applications. We also assist with energy applications. And I've also helped out with a couple of Social Security applications to apply. We work with Access KC for medications, okay, for people. We also do school supplies, back to school fair for children. When we do that, we also have our Thanksgiving Assistance Program. Last year, we handed out 300 Thanksgiving meals. And at that time, we also partnered with the Knights of Columbus to provide new coats for children. So we helped out about 200 children with new coats. We have an emergency food pantry, which is client choice, so they can come in and pick out their own food items. Last year, average monthly, we helped 1,164 individuals each month. Last year, we served over 13,900 people for services through our office, okay? Right now, we're currently using about 40 volunteers to help us do all of this. Our office has 3 employees full-time for our Family Support Center. We have 4 part-time employees. Basically, at this point, we're utilizing all the resources in the community that we can, giving back to the community and supporting the community in any way that we can. If you've got any questions, I'll try to answer them.
What's the, I'm sorry, Ralph Taylor, what's the process of, say, just use me as example, what do I have to go through in order to qualify for your program, to get into your program?
Okay.
What steps do?
All right, if you are needing food assistance or clothing assistance, the process is you come into our office, you present an ID. If you have never been there, then there is a one-page application we ask you to fill out, okay? Everything is self-declaratory, okay? We will give you the cart or the shopping list and you can go shop, or you can go into the clothing closet, or if you need the household items, you tell us what you need and we'll see if we can't meet that, okay? If it's assistance with a payment, then you would call and make an appointment. The case manager will tell you what you need to bring with you to that appointment, okay? Like if you're paying somebody's rent, you need the lease, okay? At that point, we will also ask for income verification, picture ID. It's pretty basic stuff.
How many, anyone else? How many Leavenworth residents do you actually serve? People that live right here in the county, inside Leavenworth?
Okay, within the city limits, I want to say last year we served in the neighborhood of 4,000.
Okay,
Okay, that live within the city limits, roughly.
okay. I have no further questions.
Okay, any other?
I was just gonna say, is there a spike in usage during certain periods of the year?
Okay. You know, about the time I figure all that out, it all changes. Okay, here's the deal. Like I said, there seems to be an uptick in the amount of people that we're serving. Some days it's a slow day, and I don't say that often, okay? Normally, when people come in to use our services, we keep track, okay? And what I'm going to say is, over the years, like when I first started here, I ran a report in for the whole year prior. They had done 2,400 and some individuals for the whole year for food. Okay? Yeah, it's grown. Okay? You know, we would be like maybe a half a page of people. Sometimes my office, and when I say a half a page, it's like 25 lines.
Sure.
Some days I do 5 pages. So I'm getting over, you know, close to 100 people or over in my office in a day. But then the next day it could be like 2 pages.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all over the place. There's no, oh, well, I'm going to be really busy today. No, it's a surprise, and it's a good one.
Thank you for that response. The one other question I have, and I may sound cynical, but do we have, and I'll ask this of all of the candidates here, do we find folks abusing, or do we suspect they're abusing the system or the progress or the programs?
Okay. Our food pantry is once a month, okay? So if somebody is housed, they are allowed to use it once a month, okay? If they are unhoused, we have weekly bags that they can come in and pick up a weekly bag of more transportable items, okay? Where they're carrying, they're not cooking, okay? And they don't go through my food pantry, okay? If somebody is abusing the system, I think right now I have maybe one that is on a no trespass,
Okay,
okay? Maybe not so much for abusing the system, but conduct unbecoming,
understand.
okay? Normally, if we notice that there's a problem, that's usually just a discussion, okay? And it's done very kindly, okay? I understand that you need this, however, we're trying to serve the whole community,
Understand.
and we're working with others, and, you know, like I said, it's just a little discussion, and it's normally not a problem. You just explain, this is how it works, and these are the rules we go by, and this is why we're doing it.
Well, I know I speak for everybody on the board. Thank you for all that you do, all that you
Yeah.
continue to do.
Okay,
And the way you manage the system, manage the program from all of us. I appreciate your passion. We obviously know that there's passion behind what everybody's doing, so we appreciate that.
thank you so much.
All right, next we have Leavenworth Interfaith Community of Hope.
Hello, Board.
Hello.
If we have not gotten the honor to meet, my name is Miranda Agnew, and I am with the Community of Hope. I think I know everybody. So wanted to come before you today. I appreciate the option to apply for this grant because it is super impactful to our smaller budget. I am very excited to share with you, as I have been there 4 years, we have been in a deficit every single year at the Community of Hope, and I am here before you to thank you because in 2024, we were in the black for the very first time, and that is not without realizing that grants like this from you all, believing in our mission and believing what we're doing in the city of Leavenworth, we would not be able to do that. So that is exciting news that I'm sharing with everybody because I'm very excited that we get to stick around a little bit longer and serve the unhoused community. And so Community of Hope, and I'm going to repeat a lot that you already know, but mainly our shelter side, we run a day center and a night shelter, both. We also have what we call Welcome Central. That is how we started. And Welcome Central is what we call case management. We're trying to get away from that because case managers have an expectation of like a 1 to 10 or 1 to 15. That's not the case for probably even Jackie's crew. You're 1 to 50 or 1 to 60, so we're trying to say advocates. But Belinda runs Welcome Central as our sole employee in that program. Truly case managing and helping individuals bridge the gap between instability and housing stability, working directly with Jackie and her team. Last year, we served around 250 unique individuals. When we got done at the end of the year with data, I would have been 100% wrong because it felt like we had served a lot more unique individuals. The interesting thing is we had a huge this time of the year to summer is usually, if you can predict at all, like Jackie said, there really is no prediction, but that's usually a slower time for us as the weather gets nicer. And last year, we just took off and had a ton of individuals in our building, maxing out our building. But then the end of the year slowed down right before winter. So we served about the same number as we had served the previous year, I think 10 or 15 more. What is unique is the severity of cases is increasing. So we're seeing a lot more people that don't just need a month. They need much longer. So on our shelter side, we try to restrict that. We used to say 90 days, and then we realized that was a hurdle that people just couldn't quit focusing on. So we just say we do a contract with them. The Community of Hope is not permanent housing. It is supposed to be emergency housing. And so while we don't want to lock it into 90 days, if housing's a barrier, or there's not funds, or it takes a while to get an ID, which we help with. We put terms on that because it's not permanent housing. But what we're running into right now is just the severity of individuals needing nursing homes, and that being near impossible, and individuals needing extreme mental health care, and that may not be available. So really just finding it fascinating that the need in 2024 individually didn't necessarily skyrocket like I had felt, but the need for sure had. We served another 400 individuals on our Welcome Central side. So these may be individuals that are homeless and just, for whatever reason, just can't make it in our building, whether they're choosing to or they do have a no trespass. Our building is very small, so to get 30 and 40 individuals in one room is challenging. And so we work with not just the unhoused, but those living in poverty in downtown Leavenworth. Maybe they need an ID, maybe they need a birth certificate, maybe they need help looking for a job or applying for housing. So another 400 in that program. We, on our day center side, we do provide 3 meals a day with the exception of Saturdays, because our community does a beautiful job serving those community meals. Otherwise, we do serve 3 meals a day. So last year, we served over 25,000 meals, which is really fascinating for my staff that's doing that because we have no commercial kitchen. So Sister Paula Rose appreciates this because she comes and helps us in our little bitty ovened kitchen, but this is a huge feat to take on, and we have seen a significant increase in the individuals needing food. We do not, so talking about do people take advantage of this, we do not restrict that program out our door. The reason why, so I used to work at the school district, we would have people that would be making just that very low amount of money per month, and maybe they don't qualify for whether it's food pantries or government assistance. They're just right on that threshold. And kind of the core of our organization when we started was just, if somebody needs a meal, we give them a meal. Now we do restrict that to 1 per person just because we have a limited resource. Obviously, we would adjust that if we found a need, but we're limited to what we can do. So we have seen a very significant increase in our meal serving. Normally, we close at 3 o'clock. We're not a 24-hour facility, mostly because we have 3 full-time employees and several part-time employees. But we typically close from 3 to 9. Our day center closes and our night shelter opens at 9. But through the winter, the last 3 years, there is literally no other place for them to go besides us and possibly the library, which we do appreciate the library. But there is no other resource for individuals who are homeless to get out of the elements on a normal day. And so the last 3 winters, we have opened the whole winter. I was just telling Jackie, I'm thankful winter is over, and I don't care if it's like gonna come back, it's over. But we opened an additional 540 hours over the winter. Mostly we're open 24 hours a day just because this winter was a little bit more challenging. But saw a lot of issues. We are also pushing into under the bridges and in the woods, just making sure that individuals are served and taken care of and safe. Going back to the abuse question, the interesting thing about our organization is we were founded on the idea that we were Leavenworth County only, and that was a little bit radical, I would say, across the state of Kansas. Not many shelters at that time, even when I started 4 years ago, were just county-based. We were. And so we have done a really good job in the last 4 years making sure we have clear protocols for that. And people say that's horrible, if they're a homeless person, they need shelter. And that is true. We believe that with our whole heart. However, I can only have 36 individuals in my building, and if I get a family of 9, that takes up a lot of space quickly. And we do take women, men, and families. And so we have really prioritized Leavenworth County like we said we would, just because we don't have the space and resources for individuals coming from state of California, Nebraska, Florida, Oklahoma. We just don't have that space. So do people abuse it? I think that nothing's black and white in the world that we work in. And so there are situations where they went to school here, but they haven't been here in 20 years. Does that qualify? What we try to do is take the individual that we have in front of us and make the best decision that we feel like for them. We never just put them on the street. That is never what we do. We always try to find a different location, and we'll even pay for a Greyhound if it comes to that, or working with police department, getting them somewhere safe versus just saying, we're not an option and goodbye. So the abusing situation is interesting with us because we don't really restrict meals. And then on the shelter side, I would say it's hard to abuse that, especially in Leavenworth. One of the things is a lot of people couch surf, and then where does that definition of homelessness? Jackie and I feel like have sat through so many meetings on the definition of homelessness, but we just try to make the best decision for what we can with the individuals in front of us. So I am requesting $15,000. That's the standard that I kind of do every year. I'll always appreciate the amount that we have gotten in the past, and would entertain any questions that you have.
I'm looking at you, Ralph.
I have a question.
Yeah, Mary.
So, I'm Mary Mack, by the way. So how do you guys know where the homeless people are located? Do you guys actually have somebody going out there and tracking them? Like
Me.
people under the bridge, people?
Yeah.
Huh?
So
Yeah.
building relationships, that is 99% of it, because just like I would not walk in your home uninvited, going under a bridge where people are trying to survive is not a great idea unless they know I'm safe. And so a lot of the individuals that are living outside, especially when it's negative 20 degrees, those are individuals that have had some kind of, like they just need to stay away, whether that's for their own safety or for, they know that that's the safest for staff and volunteers and other guests. And so most of the time, because we serve lunch, we get to build a lot of relationships, even if they're not inside our building. And so a lot of the times they'll tell us, like, this is where I'm staying. And whether that is, we're telling them that we can dispatch to those locations and they're calling us when it gets bad, which we appreciate too. We don't have to be there all the time. We just recently got a grant this past year, and hired somebody in December. It's like any brand new thing you try, right? Like it's rough right now, but we've had somebody for the last 3 months, 2.5 months, really trying to identify this in our area, because it's very important. We know that there are many individuals that are living on the streets. We also know across the nation they're trying to criminalize homelessness, and so people are tucking away more and more. What we don't want is a family with kids tucking away and isolating so much that something bad happens. And so we're really trying to work closer with families, because we're seeing more families the last couple of years, and just trying to get them at least to our building on a regular basis so that they can move forward. If you are just trying to survive every day, you're just going to survive every day. We really, really want people to get connected with us and get the assessments done. So if Jackie has money in one of her grant programs, that they can get housed, but just truly trying to work with them on which avenue they need help with and just trying to get them there.
Well, you just gotta volunteer to help you go.
Yeah, I will take any. I'm pretty sure like 3 of the 6 volunteer ex-board members, and yeah, we run, we're up to, so it takes 70 volunteers to run our night shelter well. We have been back and forth. In a perfect world, if we could get a ton of money, we would have staff all the time, but in our organization, we do run on volunteers at night. And so it takes 70 to run our night shelter well. And we are sitting, thankfully, right over 100 again. COVID hurt bad. We were up to 250 before COVID and down to 50. And a lot of volunteers kept the Community of Hope afloat. Being able to stay open 365 days since we were founded is an incredible feat. I was not there, so I'm not bragging on myself. You did not hear of shelters staying open all through COVID, and they did. So. But yeah, we will take any volunteers.
So how do you go about becoming a volunteer?
You gotta go through the little class.
I will,
Oh,
yeah. Our class is very basic. It doesn't, we,
basic.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, or I can connect you with our night shelter volunteer. I can send you some information, Mary. I'd love to do that.
It's my turn to volunteer again this month.
You can go work with Ralph. He can train you up.
Yes, if he volunteered me.
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 7 years, so yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
Saturdays.
So no question but a statement, your flexibility, no, doesn't go unnoticed, I can assure you, and then it doesn't go unheralded. Again, the passion and what you, and the program does for the community, we absolutely thank you for all that you do, all that you will continue to do, and we will do our very best to meet your expectations regarding funding, so.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I greatly appreciate you all, so thank you.
Thank you. Kudos to you, lady. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, next up, we have Leavenworth Mission.
First, I recommend the other agencies that came before me because they speak so fluently and eloquently. Well, I'm going to read directly from my sheet of paper and you can ask questions afterwards, okay? I'm Iris Arnold from the Leavenworth Mission, and we are a food distribution site that provides services to homeless individuals and low-income families. The Mission is the only agency in Leavenworth that distributes TFAP food commodities, which is a federal program that helps supplement foods for people who are low income. On a monthly basis, we help 205 City of Leavenworth households and 577 individuals. Besides from food, our food pantry clients also receive free merchandise, household items, and pet foods. The Leavenworth Mission also sponsors 2 mobile pantries every month. These services are open to the public. Mission volunteers manage the process of unloading food for clients through a drive-up service. Pallets of food are provided from Harvester's Food Bank. Last month, I was notified by DCF that our TFAP commodities were not going to be delivered because of a mix-up in paperwork. Our contract was originally with Second Harvest Food Bank, which is located in St. Joe. However, in January, Harvesters accepted the contract for the TFAP foods. But for some reason, the person that's over the program wasn't aware that they were taking over the contract. So due to these factors, our food shipment is delayed indefinitely. For us to continue operations of our site, we will have to purchase additional foods. This unforeseen interruption in our food services has created a major disruption in our budget. So grant funding from the CDBG for rental assistance will definitely relieve some of that financial burden. So thank you for considering.
Wow.
But also to address, you had asked about abuse of the program. The only abuse that we have seen, which is kind of nice, we use a program called Service Insights. It's a tracking program where we enter client information.
Okay.
Some individuals try to use every household member on a different format. They'll come in individually and sign up. But our program catches all of those individuals if they're at the same address,
Okay.
in the same household. Yeah.
Thanks for capturing that for us, we understand.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions?
So you okay with this 12,000 that you requesting? That will,
Well, that was before all of this happened, so if you
okay.
find that you have extra funding, of course, we'll accept it.
okay,
Yeah, the application was definitely filled out before this
I
occurred.
understand.
Thank you so much for your input.
Thank you.
See how easy it was just reading off the paper?
No one's making the federal government, all the cuts they're making. Let's hope we're not one of them.
Right?
Next, we have Alliance Against Family Violence. Do we have anybody here from the Alliance? It doesn't look like we do. So we'll hear from CASA next.
Hello, I'm Kelly Meyer. I'm the Executive Director for the CASA organization, and I want to thank you all for previous year's support. We are incredibly grateful and truly could not maintain the the building that we're in and the services that we're able to provide here in downtown Leavenworth. I think what I should do first is try to provide some explanation. I think Kim has shared that we did not, on my end, I did not receive the application in my email, and I know this much about technology, and I know technology's this big, so I asked our IT person to come and provide an explanation so that I don't look silly. So if I could have Joe come up, he will, Joe is our IT genius, and he is with Sorwell, and I would like, if you guys are okay with that, I would like for him to explain what has happened.
Sure.
Did you bring your AI with you?
I did. It's on my phone. Actually,
For the record, we know Joe, so we're taking this with a grain of salt. Go ahead.
Joe Wilson, CEO of Sorwell Technology Solutions in town. We do work with CASA as their IT department. We were doing a mail migration in January, moving them from Microsoft to Google because Google is free. And in that process, there was some downtime where we did miss some emails, this not being the only one. So just the nature of the beast, just coincidence. I don't think it was down that long, but we did miss a number of emails that in CASA's world is always very important. So I just came to add that and show support for CASA. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you are interested in the details of mail migrations, I'm happy to spend some time explaining.
I think I speak for the board and think we're good with your explanation.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe.
Bless him, because this has been a very, very, for someone not understanding technology very well, he's been great. So now I would like to share what we do at CASA. I know a lot of you are familiar with our cause and what we do, but I try to find different ways to share what we do and to just kind of make folks kind of sit with it for a second. And so this year I decided I was going to tell you a story of a CASA kid. Obviously, all the details are changed around because of confidentiality. But I do think I can tell you a story of a little boy I'm going to call Henry. And Henry is an 11-year-old little boy that goes to school here in town. And one of the things that his teacher started to notice was that he was starting to lose weight, and he was becoming really quiet and kind of distant and not sharing so much information with her. And then he showed up at school one day and he had a black eye and bruises all over his arm. And so she started asking questions, and he just really didn't want to answer anything anymore, and he just really shut down. And so she did what she's mandated to do as a mandated reporter, and she called and reported that she felt like maybe there was a suspicion of abuse. And so the Department for Children and Families sent someone out to talk to his mom, because he lived with his mom and his stepdad. And when they showed up to talk to Henry's mom, they discovered that she was pretty much drunk and was probably on some illegal drugs, and she was really not at a place where she was able to know what was and was not in his best interest. And so they decided, they being DCF, decided that they were going to go ahead and remove him from that home so that they could maintain his safety. And one of the great things about our system is the minute that we take a child out of their home, we're trying to figure out how to get them back into their home, because we know that's what's best for them. All of the research tells us kids are better when they are in homes that are protective, and when parents have all the resources that they need to be able to take care of them. So when he come out of the home, he went into a foster placement, and the state, with DCF, decided that they really wanted to find out exactly what was going on and needed to know more about the bruises that he had and maybe why he seemed to have lost so much weight. And so they called our office, and through our Child Advocacy Center, they scheduled an interview, a forensic interview for Henry to have with one of our trained forensic interviews. To tell you a little bit more about our Child Advocacy Center and our forensic interviews, we have 2 forensic interviewers that provide interviews for children in between 3 and 18 years old. So the child needs to be verbal, and they are trained in Huntsville, Alabama by the top of the crop when it comes to forensic interviews for children. And so if a child has experienced sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, or if they've been, pardon me, witness to crimes, serious crimes, then we will interview them in our office with our interviewers. They ask questions in a non-leading manner. They're able to work with investigators, and that would be law enforcement or Department of Children and Families, to gather information that that child can tell one time in one setting to one person that can then be used by multiple different disciplines so that this child's not constantly telling their story over and over again. Now, is there potential they may have to tell their story again? Yes, if it goes to court, and everyone has the right to face an accuser, so there is potential that a child may have to tell their story again on the stand, but it's not them telling DCF and then law enforcement and then their doctor and their mental health provider. They are telling it to us one time, and everybody is getting that information because it's recorded, and some of the folks are in an adjacent room hearing it in live during the actual interview. So we'll go back to Henry. Henry has come in, and he's been scheduled. He's come in and had his forensic interview, and during the interview, we're able to determine that it's Henry's stepdad that was also using some illegal drugs and drinking too much. And he decided to get a little too physical with Johnny on a couple, or not Johnny, Henry, different kid, on a couple of different occasions, and that is what left the bruises. And he discovered that there wasn't much food in the house, and that's why he had been so hungry. So through this interview, they were able to determine that his needs were not being met. Mom and stepdad are not able to care for him in the house. And he really needs some services to take place so that he can get back to the point where he can go home. And so a case is filed in the court, and through the Child in Need of Care Court, CASAS can become appointed. And so when they go to court and they adjudicate and he is found to be a child in need of care, the judge says, I want to know a little bit more about what's going on. So the only way that we come into a case as a CASA is when the judge appoints us to be a part of that case. So we usually see the harder of hard cases because we don't have enough advocates to meet the need. So in this particular case, the judge wants to know more, sees that it's a non-relative that's causing this abuse. Mom hasn't made the decision to not be in that relationship anymore. And so the judge says, we're going to go ahead and assign a CASA for this case. And so then we get that information from the judge. We have an advocate that's ready to go and wants to advocate for this child, and we assign them. And this child stays in foster care, and we continue with our advocate to go see this child at least once a month. Our advocate goes to their home, to their foster home, can meet with everybody involved in that child's life. By court order, we have access to every document, so anything covered by HIPAA, we have access to. Their medical records, their mental health records, their school records. We can talk to their neighbors if we would like to. Anybody that has information about that child, we have access to as a CASA. And our primary purpose, because they're volunteers, they're not wavered either way. They want to make sure that this child's best interest is taken into consideration. And so when we're gathering all that information and we're providing all that information, it's going directly to the judge. We are the judge's eyes and ears off the bench. If the judge had the ability to get down and go into that child's house and look around and see what's going on, we would be that. We are their eyes so that they know exactly. Henry wants a new pair of shoes. Nobody's listening to the fact that Henry wants a pair of shoes, but every time I've seen Henry for the last 3 weeks, he's told me how bad he wants a pair of shoes. Guess what we're telling the judge? Henry wants a pair of shoes. Henry's scared to go visit his mom because he doesn't think his mom's going to make any differences. She's not going to change anything in her life. He's really scared that she's going to continue to stay with this boyfriend or this stepdad, and that he's not going to be safe when he goes home. We're going to tell the judge that too. And then we're also going to meet with all the professionals involved in that case and make sure that all that information is collaborated and that we're checking and making sure that this child is not being lost in the system. So then, the last program that we offer, our Visitation and Exchange Center. In between the time that Johnny's in foster care, gosh, Johnny is on my mind. Henry. Between the time that Henry is in foster care and in the process of trying to work back with his mom and go back into his home, the court has determined that he needs to have supervised contact because we're not completely sure that mom's clean yet, and we don't know that she can keep him safe. And so while we're working through that process, we offer supervised visitation. So the court has ordered that he comes to our office once a week and he has an hour of contact with his mom. And so in our office, we have security staff that monitor everyone who comes in and out of our office. And then we also have volunteer visit monitors that we train, and they provide supervision for those non-residential parent and child interactions. We record all of those things, we document everything that's happening, and then we report that information also directly back to the court, so the court has documentation and factual information based on what happens during a visit. So that's hundreds of kids in Leavenworth every single year. And that's just a tidbit of kind of how that story can work and what that looks like for little Henry. So I hope that helps to illustrate things a little bit and explain what programs and services look like for us, but I would be welcome to answer any questions. Oh, let me also, we don't have a lot of people who abuse our services. They really would rather not come see us. So that's kind of different. I mean, my philosophy is, I think every parent has the potential to be an amazing parent, and they try. And a lot of times, we only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. And so often, that's what we see with parents. I've been here, it'll be 20 years in August that I've been with CASA, and I can count on one hand how many parents I have met that I really don't think loved their children. It is rare, few and far in between. We struggle to know what to do. We struggle to not have food, to not have a place to live. And those are the things that make parenting very difficult, on top of the fact that parenting is difficult. And so people oftentimes are doing their best. It's just sometimes the best isn't good enough. But we do hope to be a resource to make sure the court has information to keep families safe and children safe and families happy and make it to where they all have some type of happy childhood that leads them into productive citizens. But nobody really wants us in their lives.
How many hours of sleep do you get a night?
Not very much. It is a blessing also to do what I do. You know, people will sometimes say, like, I don't know how you do this. I don't know how I wouldn't do this. I do think that I am blessed because along with everyone else, I work with some of the most amazing volunteers. Anybody who would be willing to go in and work with these cases is a saint. But then I've also had the potential to work with some of the most amazing parents who they are trying so hard, and sometimes their tries aren't good enough. And sometimes they have to figure out different ways to do things, and being a part of that can be, it can be life-changing. It's definitely been a blessing for me.
Takes a special kind of person to do what all of the agencies,
And
what you
I
all
can,
do.
right. I can say I've known, some of my friends in the past have been CASA volunteers. And honestly, when they talk about the program and what, they can't get enough of it. And it's just like, this is my life now since I retired or whatever. And they're for them to be able to advocate for a child and loving their own children and then find someone else who's been mistreated or hurt, it's just, it takes their heart right out of them. And those volunteers are amazing people, just to hear what they do and how and why they do what they do. So thanks for the service.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'll agree with that. They say it's an embarrassment of riches just to how much passion and the sister said, just the amount of love and passion that they put into it, the heart.
I'm just sold by your story. You sold me, so I'm good.
Let's hope Henry gets, and Johnny get the.
Poor Johnny.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Wow.
All right, that's all we have for our presentation. Thank you guys again for coming in today, and I also want to give you all a special thank you for the work you do and for working with us as we are transitioning into our new roles. I know some of you, I reached out a few different times with my own questions for you all, and I expect that will probably keep happening, at least for a little bit until everybody gets comfortable where we're at. But yeah, thank you guys for being here today. You don't have to stay for the next part if you don't want to, but we'll be in touch and we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe, stay out of trouble.
And for you all, Brad has put together an aggregate sheet outlining the scores that you all had provided along with some other data and information. And then there are two options on here for funding. I want to make it clear that the funding is totally up to you, so these are just some different ways that we looked at potentially breaking it apart. But really you all could choose to do whatever you want with this. And then I would also like to put a reminder out here that as you guys make a motion, we would encourage you to make that motion with a statement that the funds could be distributed pro rata. So should we get more than what we're expecting or less, we would adjust that proportionally to what you guys decide today. And I'll pass it to Brad if he wants to give a quick explanation of how he broke down these options.
Well, first, the issue with CASA came in, so I wasn't getting all the sheets. I think I only got 3 sheets. Now I have 5 sheets. So what I did was, the sheets I got, I put the scores in, the ones I had not got but had voted on other people. I gave a passing grade of 60. That's why their score is 84. But with Sisters and Mr. Keeley's, that'll raise way up. I believe both over 90, so that's gonna raise their average way up. The 2 options I gave was, we got a total of $61,000 requested. We're expecting, we don't know, but last year we got 52,012. So that was an overage of 8,987. Option 1 is I equally divide up if every person or every organization put in 1,797, that's what they would pay, and then the average is what they're getting of their funding. The second one, I made a weighted score sheet based off of the score, so that again would change with the new information of what they would pay into that total of almost $9,000. Now, I see a problem, because have you had any contact with Alliance? Because I haven't.
So I did reach out to the Alliance Against Family Violence and requested that they provide us with their narrative and that other information. I sent them a copy of their packet from last year because they had a new director come on board and she wasn't familiar with the process. So I sent her the packet of what they submitted last year. She did state that they were still interested in pursuing this and that she was going to try and work on getting that information for the current year back to me. But as of today, we have not received that. So I don't have any further information on that.
So if you guys wanted to go forward with funding Alliance, that's what all this has to do with. If you take Alliance requests out of it, that's $10,000 extra. That'll give us everybody could get what they asked for, and there'd be $1,102 left over, or $275 per organization over what they were asking. Now, again, it's up to you guys. They did submit paperwork, but I've been in contact with every other one except for Alliance, so.
So if we don't fund the Alliance, then they can't apply until next year?
That's correct. But have they drawn anything from?
They have not drawn from the current year, but again, I do think that's because, so the funding agreements didn't get in place until late last year. I think Julie got them in place around September, October maybe, and then when I came on in December, Julie had been working with them because Mayor Hawley was on their board, so they had to remove her from the board in order to receive funding through this program. So Julie was trying to get the official paperwork and stuff in place for that. And then when I came on board in December, there was a little bit of gap where I was catching up with everything, and I kind of touched base with them again, I would say January or February, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. Oh wait, no, that was not Alliance Against Family Violence, that was CASA. CASA hasn't drawn any. This is why CASA has not drawn any. But we just got CASA's agreement signed yesterday. Alliance Against Family Violence, they needed to designate a signatory. So as part of their application, they have to have a person for that organization who is assigned or officially allowed to sign these agreements, and they hadn't provided that information. So again, I did talk to their director, and she was new in her role. I think she had been there maybe a month or so at this point, and they're just trying to get organized. I do think if they were to get nothing, it would harm their organization, obviously. For the next year, it would have an impact. But there is some information that we're missing, just to be totally honest. So it's up to you guys if you want to continue with anything there.
Well, I personally think we should offer some grace. Like you said, if if we do not find it in our hearts and minds to provide what, or somewhat, or a portion of what's requested, then that will only put them back further, and that's not our intent. I speak for myself, I would like to offer some grace there, so what does offering grace look like on a timeline? You know, are we able to come back in a certain amount of time? Do we have to vote on this now? Those are the things I'm thinking about. Offering grace and then, you know, at some point,
So,
make that decision. Go ahead.
did you say that they haven't used what we gave them last year?
They have not, so we are still waiting to get the official signatory paperwork done. And again, the agreements weren't in place until fall last year. So it's not like it's been a full year that they haven't drawn anything. And even our most organized ones didn't make their first draw until October. So I think there's a little bit of room to give grace there, but then also they had some turnover and we weren't persistently reaching out to them to try and get it resolved because we also had some turnover. We have kind of started up those communications again, but it has not been finalized yet. But like I said, we just got CASA's agreement finalized last week.
Understand?
I agree.
And they're ready to start making some draws. So they've been tracking the information.
Right.
Obviously, the utilities have been paid. They're just counting on this money for the reimbursement. So I expect that at some point they will need to get that reimbursement.
If I'm not mistaken though, CASA and Alliance last year, Alliance, they had a new director because the guy that had Mike, for some reason, he took the money and, I don't know, but anyway, and then they brought on a new director, and they hadn't applied last year. So that is probably why now you're telling me they have a new director, because I went and visited all the.
For Alliance?
Yes,
Yeah,
Alliance.
so the person that was on last year's application is no longer with the Alliance, because that's who I had originally tried to call. And then I had to kind of call around and figure out who the new point of contact is, which I don't have the name with me right now, but it's on the application, it's on the new application.
And then you said there was a glitch about having Mrs. Pittman on the board.
That was for CASA.
That was CASA.
I was confusing.
I just wanna
That
make sure
is-
I.
Yeah, that has been sorted out,
Okay,
so
okay,
they're
okay,
ready
so
to
that's
go
not a
now.
factor, okay.
Yeah, they can start making their draws now, I believe. We have their signed agreements, I think Scott has signed it on our side.
Yes.
So I'll restate what I said. I feel like that we should allow for some grace based on turnover and not only turnover on their part, but turnover on everyone's part and so what does that look like? Do we have to make a decision now? Do we have to?
Allocate something.
I put my draft in, but that is, like, it's the first draft, we're not even approving anything until next.
Yeah, so I guess where it gets a little bit sticky is we are currently drafting our annual action plan for the coming year. And that draft is actually available online right now, so you all can go have a look at that and provide us with comment, please.
Right.
But in there, I believe we provide the numbers that we would decide on in tonight's meeting. So we are scheduled to vote on that draft to approve or disapprove April 14th. So we do have, it's March now, so at our meeting next month, we would vote to approve or disapprove. So at that meeting, you would be setting those figures and they wouldn't be able to be in that draft yet, if that makes sense.
I understand. Well, I'd like to have them in a draft. And the reason I say that is because,
Grace.
yeah, grace. I mean, I'm not very good at giving grace, but
No,
I can-
I agree with
that's
you 100%. Yeah.
that's a real,
Currently,
it's just a big old spot on the wall, and I feel like if we're all pointing to it, that's what it needs to be.
Currently, they are on the draft.
Okay.
So everything that I did, using last year's numbers,
Sure.
was these 5 organizations
Okay.
in the draft, so. It's up to you guys.
I mean, I think it's a possibility. You could choose to delay this until
Yeah.
the next meeting and take a vote on that, and then we would have to edit that draft to reflect what you guys decide at that meeting.
Well, I think that would be the appropriate thing to do, because the grace has been extended by then. right? So, I mean, I don't know who's the point of contact or how much time they need to fulfill the requirement, but, I mean, I
Well, and is it possible just to find out, do you really, since the funds are here and the application is here and we're inviting you to do it, do you really want to? I mean, maybe she's saying, well, let's just forget it for now because we're just not organized enough. Or, you know, where do we go from here? You know, we can just say, yeah, you can have it,
Yeah.
but we want to know that they're really in a position to utilize the funds and to take, you know, say, the director needs to have that, at least that much available to her so that she knows exactly what,
I agree.
you know, what she's applying for and then how it's going to be used within the organization so that we have a clear kind of a path to where the funds are. So I would say kind of delay, to give them an opportunity to come back and say, yes, we do, and this is, here's what we want and here's why we want it. Otherwise, then maybe they'll just say, well, let's do it next year or whatever. Give them a chance.
Yeah, or
I think
maybe we can have them, a representative, come and speak at the next meeting. You know, before we do
Yeah,
any
if we can
voting
get
or
them here, I
anything.
think that would probably be ideal.
I do too.
I think it's appropriate for, and I'm not calling anybody a subject matter expert at this point, but I think it's appropriate for you and your staff to set what that timeline looks like. If, you know, it's 10th of March, how long, what
You mean
does that
time-
look like in your mind?
You mean the extension for them to
Yeah.
get us information?
Right.
Yeah.
I can get everything done. If we do that meeting on the 15th, or is it, it's the 14th. We do the meeting on the 14th, I can get everything done and turned in the next day so I mean, it'd be the afternoon, so the 15th, I'll be able to get everything done and put in the system if you want to hold off voting until the 14th.
Well, he's asking how much time do you need, how much time do you want to give
Them
that
to
the
submit.
alliance to comply or to.
To come into compliance
come in-
with what your requirements are to even.
I would honestly leave that up to you guys, but keeping in mind that you wanna have time to be able to review that. So, and also we may wanna have time to say, hey, the deadline has passed.
Right.
So if the meeting is April 14th, let's see, what is today,
The 10th.
the 10th? I think probably a week before the meeting at least would be good. I would say maybe even 2 weeks before the meeting, that way we can give a grace period.
That wouldn't be very nice.
I don't know how generous.
It is
you
Monday
guys
the
wanna
1st,
be,
isn't it?
But, let me pull up the calendar here.
That would be Monday the 1st, 2 weeks.
She said 2 weeks, April Fool's,
Yeah.
that's what she said.
See, I'm stuck on Grace.
Me too.
You made a good point. I'm stuck on Grace.
Yeah.
I don't see no reason why we can't go ahead and award him the money now, because it's easier to
Pull it back.
pull it back than wait till whatever, but I think we should go ahead and award it, and let me say this also, is that something might come up, or we say no now, and then we give them a week or whatever, they might need that money, and you know, instead of waiting, they might need that money. So, that's where I'm at. Let's award it now. I mean, that's me. Y'all don't have to do what I say, but, you know, because we're penalizing them because, yeah, they got a new director. And I'm just gonna take time to get their ducks in order. They might not even meet that deadline that we give them. So why don't we award them now, and then if we can just say, hey, because you didn't have A, B, and C in order, then we.
So, related to that, I have seen discussions in the past of amending the award if needed. So I know in some of Julie's discussions in the previous meetings I had watched, that was why it's requested that you guys approve it pro rata, because if our numbers that we're getting in were to change, then we would need to come back to you guys and have the awards adjusted. So there is an option to come back and adjust it at a later date. It would just require us to, you know, do this process that we're doing right here again. So I think that could be an option as well. And if they don't provide anything at the next meeting, you guys could look to adjust what you did tonight, or amend what you did tonight.
Just so you know, my grace didn't have a vote attached to it. No, I just wanna make sure, and I know Tony made a great point, waiting, I would like to extend grace, but I would also like to, vote on the draft. Just because I think that's, like he said, that's the right thing to do, and then we can always go back and adjust it if need be. I don't want to have to put a burden on anybody to have to do, when I say burden, I mean the staff to have to try to figure all that out for them.
Last minute, yeah.
Yeah, so I personally would like to take a vote and approve the draft or put it up for vote pro rata based on what you've provided, so.
Well, the draft annual action plan you'll vote on April 14th.
Okay, gotcha.
But we could take a vote tonight if you guys were to want to recommend funding for these agencies tonight, and then we could amend that next meeting if we need.
Now,
But
with
we'll need to
that-
decide.
With that in mind, now who would reach out to Alliance? Would y'all reach out to Alliance? I mean,
I would, it's been hitting the ground running, It's day number 8, so.
I can vouch for Brad's tenacity, I've known him for a little while, so.
So yeah, I could,
yes,
and also in my past, I've worked with the Alliance.
okay.
I do agree, they do good work. So I can try to, and important work, so I can try to get a hold of them. The problem is that I come across, they tend to shy away from men showing up at their facility. So I'm talking to her about that, and she may, if I can't get a phone contact or email, I may try to send someone from the fairer side to go.
Yeah, so we'll work with them. We'll
Okay.
reach out to them
Yeah.
and see where we're at with that.
So what is the verbiage we need to vote on? We would, if we'd like to vote, what is the verbiage I need to?
The way I understand it, you can choose option 1, option 2. Again, option 1 is everybody just equally distributes the overage from the requests, the 1797. And then option 2 is everybody on a weighted scale, too much to go into, they distribute the $9,000 based on the scores you guys gave. And I believe the verbiage is pro rata. So you award, say you choose option 1, you award option 1 pro rata, which means if I get $53,000 or $55,000, it's done in the same way. I just adjust the numbers.
Yeah, okay, that's what I.
That's what
So
I
I'll
agree
make
to.
that motion to do that.
Yeah.
For which option?
Option
Option
1.
Okay.
We still have to put it up to a vote? That's what I'm asking. I just
Yes.
wanna-
Yes.
Okay, that was my motion.
Okay. Oh, we're not just assuming motions are,
So the motion would essentially be to approve option 1, pro rata.
okay, I'll make that declaration then. Do I have a motion to approve option 1 pro rata as indicated on the score sheet?
Tony.
Yes, Tony Majors, I'd like to make a motion that we select option 1 pro rata.
Do I have a second to select option 1 pro rata?
Mary Mack, I'll second that.
So I have a motion to select option 1 pro rata and a second. All in favor, say so by name and your vote for option 1 pro rata.
I, Tony Majors, select option 1 pro rata.
I, Mary Mack, select option 1 pro rata.
I, Ralph Taylor, select option 1 pro rata.
I, Sister Paula Rose, select option 1 pro rata.
Mike?
Brian Keeley, I say aye, option 1, and then the additions pro rata.
I, Charles Davis, vote yes to option 1 pro rata as a selection. The motion carries 6-0. I don't need to offer option 2 based on the votes.
No.
Talked about the next thing.
What else, young lady?
So you will see a flyer that we left for you guys. The mayor's doing something a little bit different this year, so we're just sharing the information with all of our boards and volunteers that there will be a State of the City on April 15th, so the day after we vote on our annual action plan. We don't have all the information yet, but we'll let you know as it comes out. Right now, it's just to save the date. There will be lunch provided, and we want to encourage all of you, or let me clear that, lunch is not provided, there will be ticket options for lunch. So we would encourage all of you to look at that, and as we get more information and actual invitations and tickets go out, we will send that along as well.
Turkey and cheese or beef and cheese?
Yeah, and then my only other thing was to reiterate that the draft annual action plan is posted online. It is available in person here at City Hall as well as at the library. So if you want to have a look at that, we can make that available for you. And then we also encourage you to have a look at that and provide us with any comments or input that you may have. Our next meeting will be April 14th, 2025, to approve or disapprove that.
Does that cover all matters, or other matters and of correspondence?
That does.
All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn the Community Development Advisory Board meeting?
I move we adjourn our Community Advisory Development meeting.
Second.
I have a move and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.